everyone. Welcome to another Tactical Tuesday. Tonight's topic is going to be, if I get it to work here, dun, da, 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 emergency communication. What's your plan? And how's everybody doing out there? Let's slide this over this way here. It looks like Dave stepped back out to grab something or put Charles to bed. And hang on, I got a private message here. Made it. Yeah. All righty. Let's go back here, and got a lot of people in here, so I want to get the roll call started here so I can go through and say hi to everybody. First one was Bruce here saying he set the reminder, and that was back almost 2 hours ago. Then we have Matthew Malloy from Iowa. Hey, Matthew. CR, Creative Redundancy from north of the border. My buddy Keith Cronk, who in the announcement video said he was just going to get the blanket out and send up smoke signals for emergency communications.
Yeah.
We got Tasha, that's Prep For It. Kaylin Strain. Trish Wiley. Scroll on down here. Everyone's talking. Courtney, Wide Family Farm came in. Linda Collard. P2E, that's Prepping to Endure. Barefoot Lass is here. Everybody's chit-chatting, scrolling on down here. I love when everybody's talking, making friends. Shady Hill Homestead made it in. Carol, Fishes and Loaves Life. Emma 3010. Talking Biker Mike. Southern Illinois. Hey, how's it doing there, Mike? And Ginger Ninja's in the house. The Best Life is here. And Suburban Hillbilly is here. And Laura B is here. Gardner Josh. Texas Rob. Mary Beth Smith. All right, I think I'm caught up. Hey, thank you all for coming in. Hopefully, the presentation tonight will be something that everybody will be able to have a takeaway from and be able to improve their preparedness position. And excuse me while I take a cough drop. All right. And let me double check something over here. Okay, so we got 18 watching and 20 thumbs up. Cool. Means I lost two. Oh, here's Uncle Al coming in.
Hello, Uncle Al.
Yep. I see you changed your name on your banner there.
No, this is Wide Family Farms.
Oh, you also got the shirt on too. Yep.
Yep.
All righty. Oh, Brenda at Duncan 1900 Homestead is in here. Gear Grinding 19 is also in here. Cool. All right. So I know it was about 3 months ago. I talked about communications. And so we're going to review just a little bit from that live stream here. I still got some of the photos that we running here. But then we're going to get into the important part of this, and that is having a plan. And most people think, well, why do I need a plan? Well, I'll give you a hint. In my previous life, I was the Emergency Management Coordinator for Homeland Security. You want to talk about needing to have a plan to get message out to all Homeland Security personnel and all the 21 agencies under Homeland Security in emergencies. Yeah, that
Froze.
That was Big Monkey that was on my back. And I'm wound up because the powers that be wanted to have a way of doing it. And when I dropped the price tag on them, you could hear a pin drop. But they forked up the money and they did it. So they have even the government has a contingency plan for emergency communications because hey, they learned back in 2005 during Katrina and then followed by Rita that their cell phones didn't work because everybody and their brother had cell phones and the circuits were always jammed up and busy. So right. we're going to talk tonight about some ways to to communicate when the phone system's down, the internet is down, and we're going to show you some ways so you can still communicate with your family members. And then we're going to talk about having an emergency plan, and we're going to cover that. So let's get over here back to the slideshow here. So ways of communicating right now when everything's functioning, there is a boatloads of ways. From social media, which went down yesterday. Sorry. To satellite phones, to sending faxes, to doing Zoom meetings or StreamYard meetings, and cell phones, texting, Instagram. There's too many of them to talk about those communication ways. So I said like Zoom meetings or whatever, or StreamYard. I prefer StreamYard because it's safer. Zoom has been banned by Homeland Security personnel. They're not allowed to use it because their backup servers are still in China.
Correct.
Yeah. And you ought to see what happened in some areas when everyone's Instagram and TikTok and
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp and Facebook went down. They were having withdrawal syndromes. I mean, it was hilarious from my point of view. So
Still is.
Yeah. So what are you going to do when there's no phone, no Twitter, no Facebook, no internet, no TikTok, no Whoosy, no WhatsApp, no whatever, if everything's down? There are some neat devices out there now. On the last one I did about 3 months ago, we talked about GoTenna. Well, this is similar, and it works. It basically, you have several of these, and they link each other. You tie your smartphone to it. The difference is on this one here, they've upgraded the program on it where you can actually send short video messages and some other type of imagery as well. So
right.
This is crap! I just forgot the name of it. Damn it! I apologize. I forgot the name of it. I will have to look it up and it'll probably come back to me here in a little bit.
But folks, look at the picture. These are powered by what, Gil? That little notch thingy down at the bottom. They
got a battery in them. They are USB chargeable. And so if you have one of those little solar powered pocket things that has solar panels on it and the battery pack inside, you can keep this charged. All right, now here's the GoTenna, and you can link several of them together like the other ones. And so if you have them, family members around town that are within a certain distance, and they all have one, the phone service goes down. They can Bluetooth to the GoTenna, and they can hopscotch across and contact anybody in their group on it. You can also set this to open it up to a wider group so that anybody else with GoTenna can piggyback on to spread their signals farther.
Right.
But then you can still private message on it, even though you're using the other systems.
Right. But also, folks, understand you have to have a power source, and don't keep these at home. If you have all 5 at home, it doesn't serve any purpose. So space them out, know your distance, check it, do a trial run, check it out. Because you don't want to be, well, we tried it, but we can't get a signal. How come? We were in a black canyon.
Yeah. So there's these things you have to go to the GoTenna mesh site, and it gives you all the limitations, and they're not exactly cheap, but hey, when you need to communicate, you need to communicate.
The concept he's talking about there is actually called mesh networking.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. It will connect with as many antennas that are on its network as it can to spread the network out as far as possible. It's called mesh networking. And it's very difficult to take down, even for military psyops. When they try and take down communications, it's very difficult for them to take down a mesh network because everything is interdependent, and if one node goes down, there's 5 other nodes that can take over for it at the same time. Just wanted to point that out to everybody.
Cool. All right, Keith, we're going to get to sat phone here in a minute. Speaking of sat phone, here we go. Spot X is a satellite communications device, and it's one of the options out there besides getting the full-blown sat phone. This is for text messaging, for getting messages out. So, you don't need to carry on a long communication. You just need to get the message out to let everyone know you're fine, what the plan is, where everybody's going, what's going on, and just to ease tensions.
Before you go to the next one, on the sat phones, on the older models, you have to be careful. You want to get the latest model because they do change frequency. So if you got an old model and they put up a new satellite, you're kind of out there.
Yeah, you got to download the new data. You go to the website and download the data for the new satellites. It's just like when you have your GPS system. You got to upload the maps and everything because they build new roads, they build up new subdivisions. So you got to update stuff. All right. So the next one here, this is Garmin, called InReach. It's a GPS system and communicator. Allows you to send message right there in the middle. Messages. You can send messages. And you can hotspot via Bluetooth your smartphone to it to do more than just send messages off. If you're using the screen to type out messages, you can actually link it to your smartphone to send quicker, better text messages. And of course, there is the old-fashioned FRS, Family Radio Service, GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service. Radios you can get at, Wally World, Lowe's, Home Depot, Sports Authority, just about any place you can get these radios. They some of them say, "Oh, we got a 23-mile range on it." Yeah, that's line of sight. That's line of sight from hilltop to hilltop, nothing in between.
Right.
Around town, you're lucky if you get 3 or 4 blocks.
Glenda has a question.
Mm-hmm.
Glenda Collard.
Can you post links, please? I'll never remember these names. Unfortunately, I didn't pull links down. You refer back to this later on with Notepad, and you can just write the stuff down on that.
It takes us a while to write down all the links.
Yeah, when I did, I just went through and this morning I was just pulling the pictures of the different things off the internet or from my folder from the last time I did this. Now this next one here, for those of you that want to be Joe Spy cool, this is also a FRS GMRS radio. However, it doesn't broadcast on the normal 1, 2, 3 channels and stuff. It's a frequency hopping radio. Basically, in a second, it'll hit 100 different frequencies, and it has a pattern it goes through. And you have 10 million patterns you can enter into it. And so, if you're using it and you have someone with a GMRS radio right next to you, and all they hear on the GMRS radio is just a blip of static as it passes through whatever channel they're on. And if they key it up, you can still keep talking because it's jumping so many channels in a pattern to send that message out. That's why the military uses frequency hopping radios to eliminate jamming so easily. And this is a Tri-Square, and I got 4 of them. All right, Froze, we're going to take it up a notch now to ham radio. Ham radio is a lot more powerful. The handhelds start at anywhere from 1 to 5 watts. They have boosters on them that go up to 20 watts. They have mega boosters that'll go up to 100 watts. And those are just basically connect the antenna wire to it and hook onto it. It has like a power booster on it. The regular handhelds, we use them for the CERT program, that's the Community Emergency Response Team in Martinez, California. And Martinez has hills all over the place. I mean, we can hit just about everywhere in the city of Martinez from anywhere on 2 meter or 440. And with the 2 meter is it would be the 143 you see on the top, and the 440 is in the 43.0. This is a dual frequency radio, but we can hit just about anywhere, handheld to handheld. Now, if you have a base station, which starts putting out at 30 watts, we can hit everywhere. So these things are great, even in urban areas, hilly areas, and everything else.
It just depends on your antenna size too, right?
Your antenna location, you can actually, there's some whole bunch of other things on it. Antennas would be a whole nother live stream, a 4-hour live stream just on ham radio to cover all the stuff there. There's some great channels out there that are devoted specifically to ham radio, and I'm having a brain fart. I can't think of the guy's name right now. If Dave were up here, he spouts them off right away. But yeah, Now for ham radios though, survival comms. There it is. Thanks, Dave. Now ham radios require an FCC license. It is not that hard to do. I taught classes for the Boy Scouts, and I had 11-year-olds after taking the classes pass the test. It had 35 questions on it. They passed it. They got their ham radio license.
Right. Emma has a question. Emma 3000. Does ham radio use satellites?
No. Ham radios works 2 ways. First way is called simplex, which is line of sight. The second way uses repeaters. And so, like, if and my wife still there in California, the repeater she'd use is on top of Mount Diablo in Contra Costa County. It has the largest footprint for repeaters in the United States. She can hit from there. She can hit the repeater up by Donner Pass, and from Donner Pass, I can hit it from here. So we could communicate via ham radio from here to there just via repeater. Now, some frequencies do what's known as I lost the term. Basically, it's skipping, atmospheric skipping.
Right.
A friend of mine, Dave Purcell, at the John Muir House in Martinez, on John Muir Day, will set up on 6-meter sideband, and using skipping, we'll talk to people in Chicago, Maine, New York, Florida, Cuba, and he actually even hit Spain one time. That wasn't using repeaters. It was sort of simplex, but that was using the atmospheric skipping. Really cool. All right, so let's slide on from ham radio. Oh, ham radio also has 2 things. There's analog, which you see here with the Yaesu, and then Icon brand has what's known as D-Star, which is digital stuff, which they have repeaters and internet links. So if you can hit out of the area where the internet's still working and hit one of the gateway, it's called a gateway, into the internet, you can broadcast anywhere. One of the guys there had it on his smartphone, at the app for it on his smartphone. Called up, dialed in the repeater on top of Mount Diablo because he had line of sight to it. Punched in the repeater in Illinois and was talking to his childhood friend in Illinois using his cell phone to the D-Star gateway, which was linked to the internet, came out to a gateway in Illinois there and was broadcasting to where his friend was at.
Right. But folks, Gil, remember about 3 years ago that the idiot government was trying to, we don't need repeaters.
Oh, that
froze.
That was the great Gay Van Nuisance of California, and he got shut down hard.
Oh, people were
because the repeaters don't belong to the state of California, and he has no authority over it. The FCC came in and threatened to take away all licenses for the state of California's government use of radios.
Yeah.
He shut up right away.
Oh yeah, when He folds when you put your foot down on him.
Oh yeah, he's a wimp. All right, and this is a ham radio base station, and this is a high powered, and it has much more frequencies, many more frequencies on it. All right, other ways to communicate. Now we're shift gears here, guys, and we're getting into local easy ones. One of the ways that you can communicate if there's something wrong at home and you want to communicate it for family members, or if you're having to leave because there's a flood coming or something, whatever. A lot of people have these little signs out in front of, little flag things out in front of their houses and stuff. Put one, have a plan in part of your plan for communicating. If you guys see an Oakland Raiders sign out there, it means the poop has hit the fan. If you see Valentine's Day out at Thanksgiving time, it means go to grandma's house. If you see a Halloween one out there on St. Patrick's Day, it means something else. And so there's simple ways you can, without telling your neighbors what's going on, you can tell everybody, don't come here, go to Uncle Charles's house or go to Aunt Betty's house. And so there are a lot of ways to get messages out to family members, especially if you have to leave home for some reason. All right, next one here.
Okay, Eric, so Matthew just came in. Hi, Eric, and hi, Matthew.
Yeah, I think Matthew was here at the very beginning. I'm not sure. But Eric, hey, Eric, how's it going? All right, so what are you going to do when communications goes down, when cell phones go down, when the internet goes down, and how are you going to communicate? Well, simply put, you need to have a written plan in place beforehand, which means you need to start working on it now. I've talked about written plans on several of my videos on the Prepping for Beginners, and over on Camppatton Family Compound on some of our live streams over there. I talked a bunch about written plans. Tasha's got to go get the coffee. All right, so a written plan has several key things in it, but it's expandable as much as you want to make it expandable.
Also, folks, we have calling cards, posts, and stuff like that. Everybody forget that Uncle Alan has a dinosaur phone on the wall.
Landline.
Yeah, and it's the old one, too.
Yeah.
You have to put your finger on it.
A problem is with some of the old landlines and stuff, the cell phones do not go from, aren't like a radio going from cell phone to cell phone. They go to a cell tower, down through the tower, to the switching station, back out to, and it searches to find where that phone is to find the tower that phone's in, then sends the signal out to that tower, but it all goes through the central switching station. Now that central switching station gets flooded, or there's a fire, or some other catastrophe happens at that station. All the cell towers that are connected to that via landline aren't going to be working through that switching station. All right, so your plan, an emergency plan, and Bruce, jump in here anytime you want. Probably the best thing to do, you got to have an out-of-area POC, such as, like for me, I'm here in Idaho, my wife's still in California, so it'll probably be my uncle down in Phoenix. Because if that way, neither one of us are going to be, my wife and I aren't going to be hit by the same disaster. But if something happens here, hopefully. So if something happens in California, there's a big earthquake, and we're having an ice storm up here. She's going to try to make contact with my uncle there in Phoenix. I'm going to try to make contact with my uncle in Phoenix and leave messages. But hey, suppose he's out on vacation. Well, that's what line number 2 is. The backup to the out-of-area POC,
Froze again.
POC is point of contact. So we have a backup one. Hey, my sister is in Texas. And we have her contact information. She's number 2. And then one of my cousins, who's also in a different part of Texas, is number 3. And you can have as many backups in line. And what the one thing you got to do is once you have your plan done and you have these people listed as backups, you got to make sure they know they're the backups. They're the POC and what's going on. Number 3 is a calling card and post. Basically, a calling card is a small card, a lot smaller than this, about, folds up to the size of a business card, and you have everybody's phone numbers written down on it, especially those that still have landlines. And everybody keeps that on their person. Now, the post part is you have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with all the information on it posted on the refrigerator, and probably over by one of the phone in the hallway, and you have it posted around so that anyone coming in knows, all right, we need to contact this person here first, and they see it. The cards that go in your wallet, you laminate it, fold them up, and that way you have the information. Because, hey, how many times have you gone to use your phone and it's dead?
Right. Keith has a question.
Keith, all right.
You're in trouble. That's all.
How about all your PSC is dead? What then, Gil? All right, Keith, email me your phone number. I'm going to put you on as the backup. Now, that's why you have a number of lists of backups, and you have them in, if you have families spread out across the country, pick them across the country. Mix it up so you don't have everybody yes, I got some cousins up north of our house in California, up in Quincy. I have some down in La Crescenta. But they're still, that's still California. And if the San Andreas goes bonkers all along it, everybody's going to be affected. So we pick people that are outside the state. Back east, states are a little bit closer together, and a disaster such as a hurricane or a tornado swarm or whatever can affect a larger area. So you need to try to have people farther out, away, cousins or whatever, that you can use as your out-of-area POC. Now, don't be surprised that when you contact them and you explain what's going on, they're going to go, ooh, that's a great idea. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to make you our backup. That's the way it works.
Right. Folks, remember, you could also use a telephone tree where you list down each of your friends on the landline, and they call their friends on the landline and go on and so on and so on. That way you're covered in your area no matter what.
Yeah. The military uses a phone tree where everybody's assigned certain people to call to try to get a message out. Of course, they should be starting to update and copy off of Homeland Security's automated communication system now. So I'm not sure how long that's going to take for the military to be fully automated and using it. But I know the Air Force and the Coast Guard were heading those up.
Right. Because we part of the Space Force is the Air Force, and it looks bad. I need a quarter to call somebody. Yep. Where? Outer space. Now.
All right. Hedgehog Homestead is here. Hey. All right. So the next thing you have on the list here is you want to inform friends, close friends, and those at work that need to, that, hey, if something happens, these are my out-of-area contacts, because this is a fact that has come out several times, and not just for California, but that's where it raised its big ugly head first during earthquakes, but also it raised its ugly head during hurricanes, that the phone systems work on two separate circuits. They have local circuits and they have long distance circuits. There'll be times where you can't call across, 5 blocks away, but you can call out of state. So you set that up because, like in California, you have an earthquake. Most of the phones go for the first hour, and longer if some of the substations, get taken out. Yeah. So you make sure those at work, your boss and certain coworkers and stuff know how to get in contact with you, find out whether you're alive and okay or not by having the out of state contacts. And that way they can call and say, hey, this is Gil's boss. We just had the major disaster here. We can't get a hold of him. Have you heard from him? And they go, yeah, he's fine. He's hunkered down. There's too many things going on for him to leave the house. And I go, okay, cool. He's good. Fine. All right. And let him know that I called. I'm concerned. And here's my contact number. And you work it out so you have ways to communicate with important people that you need to communicate with besides just family. Now, once you have your communication plan all done, now, Bruce, Dave, Al, anything else I'm missing here before I go into the next part?
No, you got everything so far.
All right.
I'll throw a wrench in it later, but we'll be good.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'll get ready for the wrench to go bounce me around. Okay.
Okay, guys, I gotta leave my asthma's kicking up. So night,
Okay.
folks.
All right. I'll
Easy,
take
yeah.
care. All right. So practice your plan. Once you have your plan all laid out, start doing practices or drills, if you will, where you train and set up. So like, we're going to do this at lunchtime when, I'm at work, wife's at work, kids are at school, guys at lunchtime, we're going to set the alarms on your phone. So your phone goes off and we're going to go through the list, call the first out of area POC and then the second out of area POC. And, they know it's a test. They know it's coming. And you practice it. And you find out where the monkey wrenches are, what's not working right, and what do you need to change. All right. So once you've practiced and you figure out what's wrong, the wash, rinse, and repeat. So you find out what's wrong with the plan, you rewrite the plan, you make changes to it, inform everybody if there's any changes to the orders of the out of area POCs, anything else, and you practice again. And you find out what worked, what didn't work, make changes, practice again. And so I think the next one just says questions. Yeah, questions. So we're just going to drop back to here. So that's the general idea of making a communications plan. That's bare bones. There are probably a whole bunch of more in-depth documents you can look up online and download to work from it. But I know, Bruce, when you worked at the fire department and then you did some work at the Fusion Center, right?
Yeah, I was actually county level EMS. Yeah, I was a medic too, but
Yeah.
there's too many initials.
Yeah.
I was also a county level EMA. I was back up to our county one.
Mm-hmm.
So, we had to go through all kinds of planning and stuff. And actually, the two of us actually got our general operators licenses. So there's more channels open to you. The difference between the leveling and the FCC procedures, technician gets a very, very limited section that they can use and practice and play on. Then when you get your general, you get a much larger slice that you can play and practice on. And once you get your advanced, which is the top level license, you have the entire spectrum you can play on. And you can do all kinds of things. You can do experimentation and stuff and you won't get in trouble for it, where you would at like a technician level.
Yeah.
So, we actually, the county director and I both had our ham certifications. And that was because if he was in charge of the 911 center was his primary job, if that went down, they had to be able to get in touch with people still. So we had at all of our repeater sites, just like all of the sites with most ham stations, have a diesel generator backup that's good for anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. So that you at least have that communication there for now. And then the backup plan would be every single fire department and every single police station would get a local ham operator that would be assigned to them, and there would be several of them up at the 911 center so that they could tell the police department, hey, we need to send units here. They could tell the ambulance company, you need to go there. Tell the fire department, hey, there's a fire over here. And that's because that would be the only communication if it was longer than 72 hours. If everything's out, you have to have some communication. And everybody who has a ham license that I know has at minimum 2 or 3 different ways to keep their radios charged. I do. I can keep my radio charged. I don't need electricity. I've got it. And that's part of being a ham operator. You have to think ahead and do things. And it kind of falls perfectly right in with somebody who's trying to be prepared. That's why a lot of guys that you see that are in prepper channels and stuff, nobody's going to give you their call sign, because if you have someone's call sign, you can see exactly where they live. So nobody's going to give you that on YouTube. That does not mean they're fake. That means that they're being smart. They don't want everybody to know their exact house address, because it has to be a physical house address that goes on your license. It can't be a P.O. box or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
all right, we got a question out there. Grayman Outdoors, what's the average distance you can reach without repeaters?
that depends on the radio you're using.
Yeah, the
I
radio
have a mobile
and
radio.
line of sight.
Yeah, I have a mobile radio that I can plug into the 12-volt battery in my car and either drive down the road talking on it, or I can sit in a parking lot, talk on it, and it's 100 watts. So I can get out with a 100-watt mobile to just about any repeater within 25 to 30 miles of me with no issue at all, unless I'm in the bottom of a gully somewhere and this repeater happens to be behind one of the highest hills in the area. Then my signal may not reach there. But I could get lucky and skip it off of the atmosphere and get it there. So there's tons of different ways that the signals propagate across the globe. And it all depends on the frequency you're on, the length of the wave, and what the propagation levels are because of the sunspots, things like that, that are going on. That all affects the atmosphere and whether your signal is going to get where you want or not.
Yeah. And then the power, the wattage output affects it as well. But even on some 5-watt handhelds, we've got some amazing skips sometimes on some of the upper bands on the 10-meter band, and it just skips like, holy crud! I'm hitting the middle of Nebraska with my 5-watt handheld.
You want to see amazing? Take one of those 5-watt handhelds and go up into the 160-meter band. You can talk around the world on 5 watts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But you got to have, that's not for technician class.
No, you have to have a general or an extra license for that.
Yeah, the extra, yeah. Because, I mean, actually what's interesting is the some extra class guys did the highest frequency communication. They sent Morse code via X-ray.
That's easy stuff. They let regular generals do that now.
Yeah, but
that was a test they were doing. I understand, but they actually let general licenses do that now. But
they were up in the high end of the X-ray band, getting up there, and they were sending clear, line of sight. And I think that if I remember right, they were using the Mount Diablo tower up on the Mount Diablo repeaters, and they were shooting up into the Sierras.
Yeah, Grayman, I understand, and it's possible that he may have a separate license that he's a different class on and he has a different address for, because he knows going through all the training and taking the tests that him putting out his call sign gives everyone his exact location. So that's why you will not hear anybody on here unless it's one of the guys from like Ham Nation or something like that, because they're putting their licenses, I almost guarantee, to their corporation. So you would have the corporate address, you would not have their home address. And they do allow that if you have a corporate deal all set up and everything. Like, you can do that. So that, like, what is it, K5WR6 or whatever that's always on YouTube. Yeah. He has his, I'm sure, actually assigned from the WW1H, which is the oldest ham radio station in the entire United States. He probably has it licensed to that address, and because he runs that partially on their board, they allow him to do that.
Now, I want to address what Kaylin just put in there. I'm going to throw it up here. Now, yeah, longer whip antennas are good for handhelds, but what's really cool is you can make
Frozen?
You can make, and I know there are several channels that show you how to do it. You can make antennas that are portable antennas. Basically, it's like the old-fashioned TV wire, two-strand TV wire, and you can make what's called the J-pole, and you can set that up where you just hang it up in a tree, whatever, and
okay, boom. Yes and no.
Exactly.
She said CB radio, so there's a specific length specific length of wire in order to get to the frequency where she's trying to get to.
Right.
Okay. You're talking 10-meter band, not 13, not 444, not 660, whatever. Okay. For CBs, it's really difficult to just take and make a simple antenna. The best thing to do, if it's the radio, I think it has what they call a BNC connector for the antenna. The best thing to do is get a hold of an old Radio Shack car antenna that has a BNC connector on it. It's designed for the Midland handhelds. It's simple connection, really cheap. You can find them at yard sales or have some of your friends from the mosque look around yard sales and stuff and see if they can't find one. Like I say, it's got a BNC connector on it, and you want to get a Magnum mount antenna. And all you got to do is stick it up near the gutter, find some way to get it up on the gutter, which should stick to it, and you will reach a lot further than you will with a simple rubber ducky whip that's on the top of the radio. You need to get a car antenna. There you go.
What he's talking about, that is not a BNC connector. If you see that connector on your radio, either on the radio side or on the antenna side, that is not a BNC connector. BNC connector actually twists on like an old style radio. Most people will recognize it when they see it. It twists on because it's the connector that used to be on the back of all CB radios. They would use a BNC connector.
Yeah.
And if you see that connector on your radio, it's an SMA connector. This is an SMA male. On your radio, you'll have an SMA female, and it'll be the hole that this plugs into. Yeah. If you see that, then you got to get an SMA connector on the bottom of the radio. And every antenna has either an SMA, a BNC, or they have a couple of other SO32 connectors, things like that. Yeah. You just have to know what your radio says it has. If it says it has an SO392 connector, then you need to get that. If it says it has a BNC connector, you need to get that. That's the key to know what you're buying so you have the proper antenna. Like this one I'm already showing it right here, and it doesn't want to go up.
Yeah. So
that one I was showing right there, that one right there actually is 28 inches long, and I've talked over 35 miles on it at 5 watts.
Yeah, so these are your BNC connectors. It's got 2 little pins on the side of it, and the other one has goes over it and it twist locks on it. Now there is a company out there, Ham Radio Outlet. They sell all sorts of adapters. Everything. They sell CBs, they sell ham radio. If it's made, they usually have it in their catalog, or they can get it. The one thing that's interesting is that let me go and go back here. The radios that my wife and I use for handheld have the SMA screw connectors on it. We picked up some 6-inch pigtails. So it's SMA on one side, BNC on the other. Now, from the BNC, I have the adapter that goes from the BNC to, come on, add to screen, to the, I don't see it on here. There's another one that basically has the big threads and has the little jagged edges on the top to lock it so it doesn't spin together. That's what most of your ham radios use for the big cables and stuff.
That's just a standard CB cable.
And it goes from the SMA to the BNC. It has a little metal adapter, the BNC to the other cables, and then I have the big cable going up to the J pole on top of the house. So all she needs to,
that's fine and dandy for your like your little bow fangs or your ham radios. And going back to what she was talking about, it's a CB.
CB. Yeah.
Okay, you can't run a J pole on a CB. You will blow that final out of that radio faster than you can key it up.
Right.
Okay.
But what I was going to say,
because all right, let me try and illustrate it this way. With a CB, you have to, for one thing, your cable measurements have to be in increments of 3 feet. Otherwise, your ratio of 1-to-1 will start growing. You'll get a 1 to 1.5. 1 to 1.5 is almost perfect match on a CB radio. But your J pole is not going to be a 1-to-1 or a 1.5. It's probably going to be a 1 to a 0.5. You try hooking a 0.5 antenna up to a CB, it's done.
right.
The finals are out of it. Unless you know somebody that knows how to replace finals and has the right finals for it, you're out of luck.
Right.
For CB, a J pole will not work.
Right.
Now, for ham radios
yeah.
and 2-meter radios and stuff like that, yes, a J pole will work just fine.
Yeah.
Which
So
is what
for-
Iridium 242, that's what his was, is a J pole. It will not work for that little teeny Midland. That
Yeah.
Midland will not go anywhere. It won't talk to anybody.
But I know that Ham Radio Outlet has a chart, sheets there that you can order from online to match antennas, to make antennas for ham radios, CBs, FRS radios, and all the like. But you got to be you got to follow the instructions exactly. Otherwise, you will blow your radios.
Yep. And the more connectors you add, the worse your match gets.
Yeah.
I've seen truck drivers, in a truck stop, man, my radio can't go nowhere. I can't talk across the parking lot. And I always carried an SWR match meter with me. And I'd take that over and I'd go over and meter the radios with a dummy load on it. So I'm not broadcasting to 200 million people. And, the radio's fine. Hook it up, test their antenna, have it key up, and their match be like a 1 to a 3. So far out of match, I'd have to sit there and rematch it. CB antennas are a finicky little beast. So if you're working on just CBs, make sure you use CB stuff.
Yeah.
Right now, get it while you can get it. Get stuff that's pre-manufactured for it. My personal opinion, I would get a CB Magnum mount or something like a K40 or a Wilson trunk mount. It's got 18 feet of wire on it already on it, so your match is going to be pretty close. Then you add in 3-foot increments. Another thing, do not take your excess cable and coil it in a circle. Don't. It actually destroys your match because you're creating a loop in it. Okay, there's people that will explain a lot better than I just did, but that's simple. Don't wrap it in a loop. Okay, there's ways to lay out your excess cable. But for CBs, 3-foot increments, starting at about 12 foot, you want a 1 to a 1.5 SWR match, you'll be golden. For 2 meters.
There was a suggestion in the side chat too, just so that everybody knows. There was something called the kicker that was suggested, which is you can buy it. There's nothing illegal about buying it, but as soon as you connect it to either a CB radio or a base station CB, then you have a huge problem because a ham radio, I can hook up a kicker that's up to 1,500 watts to it, and I'm within law. A CB radio that transmits over 5 watts is illegal. Now, everybody's going to say, well, this radio does this, that radio does that. Yeah, and those radios are all made for sale outside of the United States. However, they do not enforce it because most of the radios that are over in Europe are 10 watts for the CB radios. Mm-hmm. And ones they send over to Asia are 7 watts. If you have either one of those and you're pissing off people that have a ham license, they will triangulate you. So if you're doing it, you better be in a car or something because they will triangulate you in about a third of a second. They will call the FCC and you'll get a little knock at your door the next morning.
See,
You'll
that's
be like,
why
what the hell's going on?
Right. I used to run a Ranger RCI 2950. Its base wattage is 40 watts. That's because it's actually a ham radio. Then when you add a certain little piece of metal, and between 4 little prongs inside it, jumps it down so you can actually get into 10 meter, which is CB, which is why I bought it. It's now like a $500 radio. Wish I'd have never sold mine. But there's, I always had to turn the power down, especially when I was anywhere near Washington, D.C., Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Fort Worth. Those are major FCC hubs.
Yep. And when I was
they monitor
driving
radios
truck,
closely.
I did the same thing. I had a kicker, which was actually mentioned. I had a kicker, and it would go up to 150 watts, so that if I was out in the middle of the desert driving by myself, I could talk 35 miles down the road to the other trucker that was, going right in front of me, so we could keep each other awake going through the middle of the desert at 1:30 in the morning. But as soon as you got to any type of like way station or any areas that were known, like Indianapolis, Indiana, we would always turn our kickers off because they had larger FCC stations there, and they would just be sitting there waiting for the truckers to do it, and then they'd get out with their mobile van, they'd go driving down the road and see if they could find you, because it was a massive fine. It was like 10,000 back when I was driving, I think, if you had a kicker on your radio at the time.
Yep.
Yeah. And you definitely don't want to do it in Northern California. Even with the ham radio 440 frequencies, they're kicking all the repeaters off because of the one certain air base there in Northern California is part of the tracking system for NASA for all those little nuts and bolts and pieces broken off the satellites and space stations. They track all that from Northern California. And they get very PO'd when somebody keys up more than 10 watts on the 440 frequencies.
Well, yeah, and they actually have an area in West Virginia where they have studies that they do with the National Radio Telescope, and it is illegal to own any type of ham radio CB or any other type of transmitting device within 50 miles of it. It's crazy. So, I mean, you don't have radio stations that get through into there, because the radio waves that are coming out could actually block the radio waves they're trying to get from the outer space from 2 or 3 million light years away. So there's no radio broadcasting. It's a dead area in West Virginia. Yeah. And that is actually a federal facility that's run, that they're doing actual academic studies and things like that. Now, having said all of that, yeah, I have a license. I can own kickers. I do. But even if I didn't have it, you can still purchase it and have it. Just understand how to connect it, because if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, that's when you can do it, because there's not going to be FCC guys running around with their little rangefinders trying to find where you are, because they're going to be worried even more about their family than you are about yours, because they're like, uh-oh, I'm part of the government. They might come after them.
Yeah. So hopefully everyone gets some takeaway from this tonight.
Kalen, matter of fact, Arecibo down in Puerto Rico is no more at the moment.
Yeah,
part of the towers collapsed and destroyed most of the dish.
Yep.
Yeah.
So right now Arecibo is no-go.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully everyone gets the point of get something, get a plan, figure out ways of communicating, even if it's not with ham radio CB, even if it's dropping down to FRS or using the GoTennas or using those sat phone communicators that just send text messages, whatever it is, ways you can communicate. Make a written plan for your family. Get out of state or out of area contacts that, relatives or whatever that you can, link up with and stuff to pass communications back and forth so you make sure everyone's okay. My big thing has always been, since I was born and raised in California, earthquake central. I've been through several, large 6+ earthquakes there, and communications has always been first 4 hours, boom, it's dead. And people family members trying to communicate with each other was really hard. The last one, the Loma Prieta earthquake, the only reason why it wasn't so bad for us is my brother and I worked for a construction company with one of the best radio systems commercial radio systems around. And when it happened, within 30 seconds, he was on the radio calling me. And I was back to him. Yeah, we're fine here communicating. I was working at the main shop. We had a CB radio there. Hey, Mom! And we were using a lot of communications. And there was like one of our neighbors, 6 doors up the street, had a ham radio. Go up another 5 doors, and across the street was another person, friend of ours, that had a ham radio. And so, yeah, we had ways of communicating around then to get things going, so that everyone in the family knew everyone else was okay. But yeah, put it in writing, folks. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Make your plan, get it in writing, and just practice. And what's really funny, when I first got my ham radio license, it was absolutely hilarious what was going on. The Martinez Amateur Radio Club had a lot of members and stuff, and we had like 5 ladies in there. It was like the old school phone line, the party line, because they're all talking about this and so does happen. Oh, so have you seen it? They're just talking about everything else for hours on end. And it was very friendly. If you need to get in your break, and they go, oh, who's breaking? And give them call the sign and stuff. And they go, oh, what's going on? Just checking in, whatever. Letting them know. Oh, I heard so and so is doing a barbecue tonight. Get it out there. Everyone's invited. It's CB. Ham radio clubs are amazing. And if there's a ham radio club near you and you're not sure what to do, go to their meetings. They will be more than happy and excited to teach you.
They absolutely will, because right now the people that actually know how to use a ham radio and are licensed is at one of the lowest points it's been since they started licensing. Right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
The National Emergency Radio Service, or they actually renamed it, didn't they? AES now, Gil?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's AES now. But that's a National
it's
Emergency Radio System, so that Washington, D.C. can get information out to every county within the entire United States through the AES system, and it's all private civilians. They have ham radios, and that's how they plan on doing it. And that's a leftover from back during the Cold War days when we had to have all these plans together for it. So, it's if you want to get one, most ham clubs that are around will bring you in. They will teach you for months and months if you need it. But most people go in, they can take a 6 to 8 hour class, and they get it. They go, they take the test, and they have their technician license. And then they will help you get your general. And if you're interested in it, you can get your advanced. The advanced is more for guys like me that are electronic tinkerers. I can break a computer apart, put it back together, and it'll work. So I like to tinker with stuff. I can pull a radio apart, put it back together, it'll work. That's what the advanced level license is for, because you can test on the entire broadband area of radio. You just have to make sure you do it in certain areas that are set up for only the advanced class, and then you're not in any trouble. So
now all you need to do, Google to start out, is technician pool of questions. First thing up, ARRL, the American Radio Relay League. This is probably the #1 organization out there. They got magazines, they got online stuff and everything else, but they have the pools of questions, and you can study the pool of questions. Now, the pool of questions has like 135 or 140 questions in it, but there's only 35 questions.
Now.
More than that. Okay. They're
only doing 50 questions on the test, and they have 10,000 questions in reserve.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the 50 is for the
that's for tech. That's what it is for tech now.
Oh, okay. Because it was
100 for the
extra
general, and then the technician or the advanced
Extra.
level is 150 questions.
All right, they upped it because a couple years ago it was 35 questions for it, but there are also a lot of ones like here is ham exam, and
there's even apps for your phone, guys. If you're serious
Yeah.
about getting your license, all you got to do is ham radio license in your app search, whether it be Google or Apple, and you'll get several different apps. Some are free, some have ads. Do what you got to do. And if y'all been listening since last year when we've been talking about this kind of stuff, and listen to something I keep telling y'all, go talk to the people in your local CERT team, because almost at least the main guy, if not one or two others, have a ham license and can connect you with people that can help you study and take you or get you to it.
Yeah. Froze again. I know in California, the Salvation Army has a branch called Saturn, which is their ham radio unit, and they do free classes. It's like 3 hours a night for 6 different nights, whatever. And they explain the deep stuff and everything else. And they actually give you a test, a practice test. It doesn't, you can't use it for the actual exam, but they give you a practice test to go over to see if you're getting the stuff. And
that's why I like some of the apps that are on the App Store, because what they'll do is they give you a section where you can read about what's going to be in each test. Yeah. If you're taking the general or the advanced or the technician, whatever, it gives you bullet points for you to read, which are what the test questions are off of. Yeah. And then you've got fake tests you can sit there and take, and you've got to take it's the required number of questions for each level.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, it'll give you a score. And it'll tell you, hey, this is the area you need to brush up on, and it'll walk you through it. It's the nice thing about apps. Plus, you can take that app. You're sitting at a restaurant by yourself, having a cup of coffee, study. Sitting out in the park, study. Getting ready to go to bed, can't fall asleep, study. You'll fall asleep real quick.
Yeah.
The other thing to remember is these tests are not certifying you as a master electrician or something. All that these tests are for is for each level to just verify that you know what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, and hopefully when you're playing around with wires, you're not going to electrocute yourself. They try to teach you that. That's the basic stuff. At the general, it gets a little more entailed, and at advanced or the expert level, it gets much more entailed, but it still is only making sure that you're going to be safe and not kill yourself, hopefully. So don't think just because you get a license, you know everything about ham radio and you can go out there and do everything, because you won't. I mean, I've learned after I got my license, I learned, and then I went and I got my general, and I learned, and I learned. I built probably 50 different antennas. I got antennas to do everything I want. I've got NIVIS antennas. I've got short range, long range, skip propagation antennas. But that's something you work up to. It's not something you go get a license and now you're expert in everything.
Yeah. And there are a lot of times the local ham radio club will have classes on antenna building, classes on propagation, so it's you're always learning. You've got people there to help you out. What I like about the Saturn program of the Salvation Army, the questions you miss on the test, they will sit down and they'll go over stuff with you that you can't. They won't do exactly. They'll go over it with what you chose as the answer, and they'll go over and explain things to you so you realize, oh, this is what I should have picked. So you understand what's going on. It's a really it's a ham radio is a fun hobby. We can't no, Carol, no. You don't get to electrocute those who pee you off. Now, one of the things you will learn in dealing with ham radio is you don't want to have the antenna close to your head. When you're getting into 20 watts and 30 watts, you want that away from you. And the higher the frequencies, the wattage even drops, you don't want that near your head. So, because the higher frequencies are basically, you're getting into microwaves. The same principle as a microwave oven. And that's what I hate about 5G cell phone network is you got people cooking their brains with 5G.
If you look at the military, especially like special operations, airborne, Rangers, Green Berets, Deltas, you're always going to see them, and they will have something that takes the antenna from their embedder radio and routes it onto their back and puts it up high so it's away from their head. And the reason they do that is because those embedder radios run at about 30 watts, and they can actually, from the ground, in anywhere in the world, they can shoot up and hit any milsat that's up there. So that they can be in the middle of a valley in Afghanistan, call the Department of Defense in Washington, D.C., tell them, hey, we're getting our butts kicked. Can you help us out here? And then they send the message back to either the Air Force, Navy, whoever's close. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, there's planes flying over you in 2 minutes. And that's how it works.
Yeah. And, just so people understand misuse of antennas. A friend of mine, Gerald Jones, was the welder for Mountain Cascade. When he was in Vietnam, he was an electrician out there, and he had to go out with several of the guys and work on the ground radar unit, and they shut it down, tagged it out. They were out there working on it. Some idiot lieutenant decided, why is this tagged out? Started cutting the tags and turned it back on and sterilized all 6 of the techs that were out there. So, you got to, ham radio is fun and stuff. Follow the safety stuff. The 5-watt handhelds you're fine with, but you start getting up into the, 50, 100 watt, 150 watts. You want to make sure that antenna's, 100 feet away from you. Okay, Gunslinger, have a good night. And we're over, so we're going to wrap it up here. Let me grab the list here of upcoming events here. Okay, so Friday night on Camppatton Family Compound, my other channel. Friday night on the Homestead, we're going to be talking about your pantry, the cornerstone of preparedness. And then next week here on Tactical Tuesday, we're going to be talking about what is your EDC, your everyday carry. And it's going to be different for people in different jobs and in different parts of the country. But, we're going to be talking about different things people carry all the time, what you can carry in certain areas and what you can't carry in other areas. So that's what's coming up. Guys, you have any topics for your stuff coming up?
Unless, Dave, are you going to do Friday again? I've just been covering since you were out there.
Just go ahead. So go for it.
I'll be right on right before Gil then and be talking. Everybody's liking doing the free talk, so if you have questions about ham radio, now you guys know I know ham radio, so bring that along. We can talk about that. That'll be Friday at 9 o'clock, and then that'll run right up to Gil, and Gil will take over from there.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, Fish will be on.
Yes, that's right.
11:30 Fishies is on.
Yeah. Fishes and Loaves Life. It has Friday night, 11:30 Eastern. And Courtney, I think, has slipped out. But tomorrow night, I'm not sure who Courtney has. Let me take a quick look here at Facebook, because she usually has it up on Facebook, who she's going to be interviewing on Wednesday. White Family Farm. Open that. And
Excuse you.
All right, we got... where is she talking? She didn't. Oh, she doesn't have it. I don't see it posted yet. Uh-oh.
She's slipping.
She's slipping. Dustin, if you're in here, let Courtney know she's slipping. I don't see the who she's going to be. Usually she interviews somebody on Wednesday at 9:30 Eastern. And then at 11 o'clock or 11:15, she has the after party. So and that's where everyone lets their hair down, gets a little loose, and it's been getting a little heavy on the insinuendos. Sometimes there's no insinuendo at all. But it's a fun laugh, for those that enjoy that. All right. And, yep. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up here. Guys, if you go back to review any of this, and I'd like the beginning for the we were talking about the different types of things that are out there. Yeah, if you put a question in the comment when you review it, I will get back to you. All righty. So I guess that's it for tonight. So everyone, remember, stay happy no matter what life throws at you. Stay safe. Don't go out there and do something stupid and foolish. And most of all, keep on adding to your preps, and we'll see you on the next one.